YOM, what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV today. You know, normally the Friday before a Royal Rumble is going to be happening, I'm usually very excited. I'm usually very amped up. The speculation is running hot. You don't know who we're going to see, what surprise entrants are going to be happening, what sort of great undercard did the WWE put together. These are some of the things that, growing up as a WWE fan, have become synonymous with this time of the year and the Royal Rumble. However, that has not really been the case over the course of the last couple of years, and never more so in the case of the Royal Rumble coming at us this Sunday. One of the most lackluster undercards they have ever put together, with very little to be interested in, and a field of 30 men that just makes absolutely no sense when you factor in Brock Lesnar as the number one entrant, the WWE champion, being the first person in this, the unbeatable champion. Who's going to beat Brock Lesnar? Who is in this Royal Rumble that you give a shit about that could possibly beat Brock Lesnar? We don't know just yet, and we're going to all unfortunately have to tune in on Sunday to find out. But before any of that, we had to sit through tonight's usual weekly dose of suckdown on Fox, and we are going to talk about it because they did absolutely nothing to make me any more excited for this Sunday's Big Four installment of the Royal Rumble. Let's talk about it all right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare, and you are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show Smackdown review and reaction show. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
We got a little bit less than 48 hours until we hit the pay-per-view this weekend. Thankfully, for all of us real wrestling fans, there's a When Worlds Collide show that we could enjoy tomorrow night. If you were a smart wrestling fan, you were watching NWA tonight. Their pay-per-view was trending #1 worldwide, beating out the WWE and SmackDown all night long. So the WWE is in for some hard times themselves if they're going to continue to give us the shows and the drivel and the bullshit that they keep wanting to pass off as a professional wrestling show. How do you have the Royal Rumble in your sights and you book the go-home show, the final stop on the road to the Royal Rumble, and do nothing? You did nothing. You know what they did? They had a 6-man tag that was inevitable. It was feared very much by all of us sledgeheads here on this channel. I told you guys this was all going to happen when the Usos came back. They didn't bring the Usos back to reinvigorate the tag team division. They didn't bring the Usos back to do anything interesting. They brought them back to play second fiddle to Roman Reigns in this ridiculous feud with Baron Corbin, which has been the centerpiece of SmackDown for as long as I could even remember at this point. And it is the worst storyline they got going on the Blue brand. I have absolutely zero interest in anything pertaining to any of the individuals involved in this matchup. And that's a shame for me to be saying about the Usos. I'm a huge fan of the Usos. I think they're great. Probably the greatest WWE tag team in the modern era to ever step foot in the WWE. But what are they doing now? They're just two little dogs following the big dog, doing whatever Cuz is doing. What's up, Oos? You got some beef, Oos? We're going to come back and take over for you, Oos. We got you, bro. Terrible process of using these guys on their return. It just, the thoughts that are happening in the WWE right now, while they are probably the worst we've ever seen, there's probably very little going on. Because there's just nothing. There's nothing here. This is a continuation of a story that none of us are interested in. And guess what? Guess what happened in this 6-man matchup? What do you think happened? Roman Reigns and the Usos defeated Baron Corbin and his two stooges, the team of Rudolph, Bobby Roode, and Dolph Ziggler. Again, not one person in that sentence we just spoke of has my interest. I don't care to see where they're going as long as they are involved with each other. I'm done with it. I'm completely over it. They failed Baron Corbin. They gave him the King of the Ring. And since then, they didn't book him as a dominant heel, forming together some faction to take over all of SmackDown, very similar to what they would eventually be doing with the Monday Night Messiah right now. But this is what they should have done with Baron Corbin. You make him take shit seriously. You don't go so heavy on the stupid. You don't turn him into a comedy villain out there trying to get laughs, using dog food, making puppy jokes. This is why we have no room in our lives for a Baron Corbin. He didn't come out as a badass king looking to rule the kingdom. He came out like the court fucking jester. He looks the part. His wrestling's not bad. But the character just makes me completely want to turn away. So we start, and what does any of this have to do with what's happening at the Royal Rumble? Oh, we have this meaningless match between Reigns and Corbin, so we have to continue to make that the focal point of the show. We're going to give this six-man tag 30 minutes of a 2-hour show where we got a lot that we should be covering right now. It's Royal Rumble season. But instead of doing anything interesting, we're going to make time on SmackDown tonight to watch a grown man oil up Big E, because being oiled up means you can't get thrown out of the Royal Rumble. I know a couple of people that would beg to differ with that statement. Sometimes being oiled up works as a disadvantage because you'll go sliding off the top rope easier than you could ever imagine. It's actually happened to people who were not supposed to be eliminated. At a particular point, they happened to have a little bit too much body oil on. I believe it happened to Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he slid over the top rope with a little too much ease before it was intended. So your strategy is flawed, Big E. Thanks for making me have to watch you get all oiled up on television. It's disgusting. And just relegates the New Day back to their comedy antics as we see Blondie Kingston coming in. Or for what? For what? For the New Day to declare that they're going to be in the Royal Rumble? 2 more additions to the Royal Rumble that have absolutely no chance of winning the Royal Rumble this year. Is Kofi Kingston going to beat Brock Lesnar? No. Big E? I would love to see Big E versus Brock Lesnar. I think that would be a very interesting way to go about it. You think the WWE is going to do that? I certainly don't. Ridiculousness. Absolute ridiculousness on this show. That opening match took way too long. Way too long. I was bored with it before it even began. And I know so, oh, but Nick, there was good action. There was some good action, man. No. I don't care. Your action could be fantastic. If I don't give a shit enough to be invested and your story is not connecting with me, you could fight from now till tomorrow and give me the most awesome match I've ever seen. I'm not going to care. I'm not going to care, because wrestling is about more than just what's happening in that ring. The story you're telling outside of the fight is very important, because the reason for the guys having to go at it is just as important as the style and the quality of the match that takes place when they do finally go at it. So if one of those things are off, then everything is off. That's how I feel about it. We see Lacey Evans backstage doing a promo. Not a promo, doing a photo shoot. But she was about to come out and do one of the most boring and ridiculous promos I've ever seen. And don't even come at me with, well, no, that was actually very good. It was very good. No, it was not very good. I don't care. They could have wrote her an Academy Award-winning script for a baby-faced female in the WWE. It would not have translated. Do you know why? Because bam, bam, I spent the last year being a bully, and now nobody likes me, bam, bam. How could you possibly just not pay any attention to what you just did with this woman for over the course of the last year? She has been walking around being a proverbial bully, calling everybody nasties, wiping her pit sweat with her handkerchief and throwing it on women, calling them out for all of their flaws, being very mean to each and every one of them, doing the very same to all of the fans in the audience. And now all of a sudden, with no explanation, bam, bam, I'm now a good guy. I need you to like me, so I'ma make you cry now. You're gonna make me cry. I don't give a shit about what you are gonna be telling everybody tonight. I don't give a shit about any of that. None of that matters to what is happening this Sunday at the Royal Rumble. Why does the struggles of Lacey Evans' father, all of his battles with mental issues and mental health, what does that have to do with your fight with Bayley on Sunday? This is why I've decided to take an anti-bullying stance. Is that what you're trying to say? Am I supposed to be feeling bad for you because I didn't give a shit that you were a U.S. Marine? That wasn't enough to get me on board the Lacey Evans train, so now you're going to make me cry about it. You're going to tell me all her problems. You're going to make us feel bad for Mommy because Sasha Banks picked on the poor little girl. Please, spare me this melodramatic bullshit. None of it has anything to do with professional wrestling, and I respect everybody's personal stories as far as it pertains to the woman who's playing the character of Lacey Evans. That's all well and good, but we're not doing that. We're taking her personal stuff that has nothing to do with her challenging for a championship on Sunday and putting it center stage for no other reason than to try to get fans on her side, because the fans are not on her side. And don't tell me, well, she got a great reaction tonight. She got a great reaction from the crowd tonight. No, that wasn't a great reaction. That was not a great reaction. Some people cheered because they felt bad. That's such a struggle. That's terrible. Oh my goodness. We should like her now. Is that what you want me to do? Because that's not how it works. In her case, her wrestling is awful. Her storyline is awful. So the entire package, as soon as that bam, bam hits, I just want to go to sleep. I don't want to watch anything that follows. And it's nothing against the girl personally. So don't come at me with any of that bullshit. It's simply the fact that the WWE as a company, as a creative entity, has failed this woman on an epic level. They put her next to Baron Corbin when he was, well, I don't know if it's any worse than it was now. I was going to say at his worst point, but maybe he's at his worst point now. But she was side by side with Baron Corbin. She's one of the reasons why the wrestling world turned against Seth Rollins. She's not been a positive thing as it pertains to the world of wrestling in any way. She was given an immediate push straight to the top because of her looks. Because she's a clone of Charlotte Flair. Show me a reason to counter that. Tell me why she's deserving of all this. She barely was a blip on the radar in NXT. The girl is still green as grass. She's getting more world championship opportunities. She's getting another title match this Sunday. But instead of us focusing in on that, we're going to talk about all of her personal garbage. I don't care. I don't care about any of it. Everyone's bullies. Yeah, everyone's a bully, including you. Can't have, that would be like having Samoa Joe come out and turn around, or Brock Lesnar next week come out and turn around and be like, I'm not an advocate of violence anymore. I don't like violence. But you were just ripping people's heads off just a couple of weeks back. Now you're not. How does that make sense? She was one of the most vile villains the WWE was trying to push. And now she's going to be a champion for the people. And they didn't even have the decency to book a decent segment to tell that story. Has her turn officially even really happened yet? Or no, she just came out and gave a happy promo instead of the stupid, nasty promos she usually does. Well, she did a promo against a heel instead of doing a promo against a babyface. Now she's changed the leaf. We didn't have an incident. We didn't have some sort of a match that showed her turn for the better or some sort of a vignette filmed of some sort. No, we get this. Overly written, overly long, overly boring, overly unnecessary promo from her. Talking about her daughter. Please, I really don't care. And this thing just exploded into another majorly nonsensical segment because they don't know what to do with their women and they prove it every single week. You go from watching NXT this week, seeing Shayna Baszler and Shotzi Blackheart going at it, and while that match wasn't the greatest match in the world, it was miles above what the girls are doing on the main roster. I hate even calling it the main roster because the only thing that's main about it is the way it mainly sucks. And it's mainly the worst two wrestling shows in the world right now. SmackDown continues week by week to just edge itself to actually be worse than Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw has Bobby Lashley and Lana on it. And somehow SmackDown finds a way to irk me even more with all of these nonsensical things. We were up to the 9 o'clock hour. I hadn't seen anything but Roman Reigns and Lacey Evans, Baron Corbin, and very little, if at any mention at all, of this Sunday's big show, outside of a commercial here or there. Nothing happening in the ring had anything to do with what was going on. Absolutely ridiculous. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, because reasons, they're back as a tag team. It's been going on for a couple of weeks. I still don't care for it too much. I don't get it. I don't like it. I think it's just a way to keep Nikki Cross satiated. You know, just she feels like she's part of something. She's with Alexa Bliss. They get along in real life, apparently, and she's having the time of her life. You know who's not having the time of their life? You and I. Because we got to sit there and watch Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross going in there against Fire and Desire tonight, and this match wasn't even a match. This match just turned into another segment involving Lacey Evans, because we had to see Lacey Evans backstage before this match begun, fighting with Bayley in the back, while Carmella and Dana Brooke are announcing that they are declaring for the Women's Royal Rumble. Wow, that's really going to add to my interest on the women's side of things, or are we not allowed to call it the Women's Royal Rumble anymore, since we're apparently taking women's out of everything nowadays? So we just have two Royal Rumbles. There's no distinction between either one of them, I guess. But this just turned into a big old brawl. The match got thrown out. Lacey Evans and Bayley made their way to ringside. Everybody ended up getting involved with one another. How that is a way to get me interested in this match, which they don't have a chance. They don't have a chance getting me interested in this Women's Championship matchup for the SmackDown side of things. I could care less about another Lacey Evans push. I don't care what side of the fence she's riding on. That horse has left the stable and it needs to be put down and brought to the glue factory. Because I don't care. And neither do you. And if you want to try to fool yourself into believing that you do care just so that you think that maybe you still feel the Royal Rumble is special or something, do yourself a favor and don't kid yourself. Because you don't care. You care about that about as much as you care about Elias and Braun Strowman. That's right, Elias and Braun Strowman as a tag team tonight. What do you think they're going to be doing? They're going to be fighting Sammy's boys, right? Since Braun Strowman's got his sights set on the Intercontinental Championship. Looks like they're on a clear path on giving him that championship, which makes zero sense. Braun Strowman is not an Intercontinental Champion. Would you feel the same if you would have seen Andre the Giant as an Intercontinental Champion? That doesn't fit. The man's 7 foot tall, he's massive, he's strong, but he wasn't very agile. He wasn't a worker, in wrestling terms. The Intercontinental Championship is the wrestling man's championship. It's the workhorse championship. You're going to put it on a guy that looks more like a horse than works like a horse. Looks like a big old Studebaker horse. Ridiculous. We see Braun Strowman singing with Elias tonight. We seen him dancing with the New Day. He's just a gigantic clown. And with the Big Show coming back on Monday night, we definitely don't need two of them around. Braun Strowman is a joke. Elias is a joke. They're going up against Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura tonight. Shinsuke Nakamura is still the Intercontinental Champion. And these two gigantic goofballs, Elias and Braun Strowman, defeat Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro on SmackDown tonight. So now I believe for the last 3 consecutive weeks, the Intercontinental Champion has lost on his quest to defend his championship from the greatest threat it's possibly ever seen coming at him. Who wants to see Braun Strowman as the Intercontinental Champion? Who wants to see Braun Strowman at all anymore? He's one of those superstars where less is more. You bring him in to enhance things. You keep him off TV a couple of weeks. Bring him back once, maybe twice a month. You know what? Twice a month maybe even feels too much, and you got to bring him back where it is appropriate. Somebody needs some backup. Somebody needs a giant. Somebody needs some strength. Whatever. You bring in the Braun Strowman. You bring in the Braun Show. But instead, we're going to see him fighting Shinsuke on Sunday. They had nothing better to come up with than your standard tag team matchup, and then they just team Braun with Elias. Like, that's a thing that we should just... Oh, okay, well, that makes... How does that make sense? How? It was ridiculous. Again, match quality, that wasn't even there. This is a Braun Strowman match. You could have went to sleep during this matchup. Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro are too good. The only time this match was any good was when they were in the ring and had nothing to do with the other two guys. Oh, but it was fun. It was exciting. No, it was not. It was stupid. It was nonsensical. And it's not doing anything to heighten my excitement for Sunday, where Braun Strowman is most likely going to take the title off of Shinsuke Nakamura, continuing to just bury him under the rug as if they didn't even have him at all. Once upon a time, Shinsuke Nakamura was considered one of the best wrestlers in the world. If you've been watching him over the course of the last couple of years in the WWE, you would laugh at that statement. You would probably find it hard to believe. He's got one of the best entrances in the world, some of the best outfits in the world, some of the best charisma in the world, one of the best wrestlers in the world. If you base it off his WWE resume, that's a hard argument to make. And that's a disservice, and that's disrespectful to the legacy that this man has put forth in the world of professional wrestling prior to coming to this piece of shit company, where dreams and legends go to die. That should be their new slogan for 2020. WWE, where dreams and legends go to die. And you have to have Vince say it, or else it doesn't mean as much. After the match, Braun Strowman and Elias stand tall, all happy, while Sammy's trying to get his guys together. We talk about how Daniel Bryan issued the challenge for the strap match stipulation last week. They showed Daniel Bryan backstage. Then we get to see Big E getting all oily like we already talked about briefly before. Then they have to recap what happened earlier with Roman and Usos versus the King and his clowns, because that's important. In case you missed it, we have to show you guys this again. Corbin says Roman Reigns isn't going to make it to the Rumble on Sunday. I don't care. Kofi Kingston, Blondie Kingston versus John Morrison. So now the second week in a row, John Morrison gets one over on the New Day. This was a decent matchup. John Morrison is a fantastic talent. I hate his finishing move, but his talent in the ring is not to be denied. What's bringing John Morrison down for me right now is actually The Miz. And that's because they're not using them as a tag team just yet. It's like The Miz is just his talking stick at the moment. The Miz wants to come out and berate the fans about booing John Morrison when he returned. You're not supposed to do that to a big returning star. But that's the WWE's fault. If John Morrison's music would have hit in any one of those numbers at the Royal Rumble without us knowing that he was going to be there, he would have got that reaction he wanted. But the WWE wanted to jump the gun so that he could fight the New Day a couple of times. Because that's seemingly more important than making a statement, making a big splash, making a Royal Rumble moment, making him seem important, making him seem special. No, he just came out of the bathroom closet that The Miz was hiding in, popped out with everybody watching, said something that you could barely hear because the microphone work that night was very shoddy and it was almost inaudible, and that was it. And now we're here, and he's beating the New Day single-handedly without even the assistance of The Miz. So what is there to get excited about? Oh, we're going to see The Miz and Morrison take the championships from the New Day? Can you be more clear-cut with what you're going to do in the future? That's fine, but at least let's do it already. Let's get it done. I'm tired of seeing the New Day as champions. And if you're going to do something new, let's do it. Let's not delay it by having John Morrison out there giving us meaningless singles matches against Blondie Kingston. And now you got Kofi Kingston, former WWE Heavyweight Champion. Main event of WrestleMania. Kofi Mania. Out there getting pinned by John Morrison. Like he's a jobber. Like he's nothing. I don't know what they're doing, man. I don't get it. I didn't like that they made him beat Big E last week. I thought that was ridiculous. I didn't like that they made him win this week against Kofi Kingston. I don't like that these matches are even happening. So you can't tell me, well, you don't want 50-50 booking. No, I don't want 50-50 booking. I don't want any of this to be booked right now. None of us should be talking about John Morrison at all until the end of Sunday. And then go forth with whatever friggin' plans you have and let me bring the hammer down on them later on. This was a premature evacuation of a very good moment that has now just turned into ridiculous TV that doesn't make sense. And that I don't care about. Just like I don't care about Sheamus in his little black screen room in the back. You know, he came out and he wanted to talk shit about Shorty G tonight. I feel like this was actually a repeat promo. I don't know if anything new was said at all. I feel like they just took one promo they were like, oh shit, we forgot to do the Sheamus thing. So, take the one from last week. Just take the one from last week. No, we can't. It's last week. All right, well, take the one from 2 weeks ago. No one will know. I know. I know it's probably not the case. But the writing doesn't help. It's the same shit with him every week now. He's fighting Chad Gable. Wants to talk about short jokes. Calling him little fella. Sheamus should be with Cesaro. I will continue to say that until it happens again. Cesaro shouldn't be being teamed with the Intercontinental Champion. Sheamus should have been brought back into the fold of Sammy and his men. And he would have had Sheamus and Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura as two separate things going on in one Sami Zayn-led faction. That was the way to go. Having him come back to try to get over an angle that Vince McMahon is determined to get over. How many times have we seen this angle and they just sort of get dropped every time because it just doesn't go anywhere. We've seen it with Big Cass and Daniel Bryan. We've seen it with countless numbers of the smaller men that have come up from NXT over the last couple of years. Hey, little man, what are you going to do? When are you going to grow up? Oh, I didn't see you there. 5th grade elemental writing bullshit. Ridiculous. The match between Morrison and Kofi was okay. John Morrison gets the win. I don't understand where they're going with it, nor do I really care. Back from the break, Michael Cole is in the ring for the contract signing. And this was by far the most interesting moment of the evening. And they did do something mildly interesting, but for the most part, they just did what they always do with Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. Daniel Bryan is out there in his new plastic t-shirt. For those of you who don't know, that shirt he was wearing is environmentally friendly. It is eco-friendly. It is made out of spun plastic. I can't imagine how that is at all remotely comfortable, but it looks like regular fabric, and he seemed to be enjoying it. I guess maybe it feels like wearing a garbage bag. I don't know, but it looked cool. I liked the new shirt, environmentally friendly or not, but Daniel Bryan's out there in the ring with his new Orange Cassidy-inspired hairdo, and we're going to have the contract signing. He wants The Fiend to come out just like everybody else does. The Firefly Funhouse pops up on the Titantron. Bray Wyatt sitting there with a fax machine. I thought this was mildly amusing. He's trying to send the fax to nowhere because there's no fax machine in the middle of the ring for them to get a fax to, but this is just Bray Wyatt's wild and wacky antics at its finest, I guess. It was not the usual boring dribble they've been giving us. They got a little bit creative with it. Bray Wyatt doesn't understand why Daniel Bryan would willingly and want to be on his own merit in this matchup with The Fiend. Daniel Bryan was getting a little bit sick and tired of Bray Wyatt and all his mind games, and he's just trying to call him out to the ring. It's like, this is stupid. Let's get this over with. All you try to do is run. You're not going to be able to run from me because we're going to be hooked by this strap. And then they do what you would expect they would do. Bray Wyatt says he's not going to sign the contract. The Fiend's going to be the one to sign the contract. The lights go out. The red lights come up. The Fiend is there. A brawl ensues between he and Daniel Bryan. He gets the best of Daniel Bryan very quickly and locks in the mandible claw. He then goes and executes a Sister Abigail on Daniel Bryan, removes Daniel Bryan's plastic t-shirt from his back, and starts to whip him with the strap very violently. And I'll tell you something, if it wasn't in this ridiculous red lighting, this would have been really intense and it would have been really great. But no, Bray Wyatt goes back to the contract table. He stabs his own hand with a pen, so he's using the same gimmick that they're using with Eric Rowan and his little cage of nonsense. Bray Wyatt's bleeding from his hand. He signs the contract in his own blood, which was a nice little touch. But at the end of the day, this was typical of what they do with The Fiend. And the red lighting just completely agitates me to no end. It's something I can't get over. I'm going to complain to you guys about it every time they do it. You couldn't see shit that's happening. And I have a really good TV, so don't tell me I need to get a better TV. My TV is fucking fantastic. And I have a hard time watching these matchups when they drop to the red and watching all this shit with the red lighting. It's just absolutely ridiculous, and it takes me completely out of the moment. It makes me angry, and I don't enjoy whatever it is that comes after those red lights. They turned out the red lights. The main house lights went back on. Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, was now nowhere to be found. Daniel Bryan was laying there, struggling to get up to his feet with welt marks on his back. Very dramatic shot. And we go off the air of tonight's SmackDown on Fox with Daniel Bryan looking for a measure of vengeance on The Fiend again. So that was your go-home show for the Royal Rumble. And with the exception of the contract signing, they did nothing interesting at all. They have given us no reason to tune in on Sunday. They've given me no desire at all to subject myself to what is going to most likely be nearly 6 hours of wrestling with an underwhelming undercard to rival even the worst of years past. And a field of competitors in the Royal Rumble that leaves a lot to be desired. There are a handful of gentlemen that maybe, possibly, could be convincing in winning this Royal Rumble and moving on to WrestleMania to challenge the Beast for the WWE Heavyweight Championship. Drew McIntyre is one of them. Outside of that, I'm pretty sure we're not going to see any NXT guys. Do you want to see a return of Cain Velasquez? No, you don't want that. Nobody wants that. I don't even think Cain Velasquez wants that. Do you want to see John Cena come back? I don't want to see that either. I'm sure none of you want that as well, unless you're one of those diehard Cena people, and I know some of you most likely are, but I am not one of them. Back in those days, I was a CM Punk Daniel Bryan guy. I was never on the John Cena train. And I certainly don't want to see it pulling back into the station this Sunday, taking a valuable spot in the Royal Rumble, and subsequently possibly even taking the main event of WrestleMania. Not something that's on my wish list at all. WWE continues to fail on all levels when it comes to the red and blue brand. The blue brand is easily becoming the worst show of the week. And I don't get it. 3 hours of garbage on Monday did not seem to aggravate me as much as these 2 hours did tonight. The one good thing, if I can tell you guys one positive good thing about this show, is that for once, the Roman segment wasn't in the main event. And they actually had the peace of mind and the frame of mind to realize that, hey, we're going into the pay-per-view, we got to end with the championship. So we'll end the show with the contract signing. Because that is more important than whatever it is the big dog and the Burger King want to be doing over there. I don't care. I certainly don't care. This Sunday's Royal Rumble, I'll be surprised if any of you care. I will be subjecting myself to it for each and every one of you, and we will be bringing the hammer down on it this Sunday evening, so don't forget to be here for that, as well as tomorrow. I can't wait for tomorrow, because I need When Worlds Collide to cleanse my wrestling soul from all of the junk that the WWE usually pounds on me. The NXT show this week was very good. The Dusty Classic continues to roll on in tremendous fashion, and we had some really good build-up for When Worlds Collide. We didn't do the NXT this week, obviously. You know, life happens, things happen, and I did not have the time to bring that one to you, but it was a fantastic show. NXT still one of the best, if not the very best show of the entire week on broadcast television. There's no better wrestling show, in my opinion, and the fact that they are even in the same company as Raw and SmackDown is just mind-boggling to me, and I don't understand why they don't just learn. How can you not learn and look at what they're doing? Oh, well, NXT is getting killed in the ratings. Well, the ratings don't mean shit. They don't, because we're talking about the quality of the show. You're going to put one show against the other and say who had the better show. We're not talking about who had more people tuning in. We're talking about who had the best show. NXT, the best show. Tonight, apparently, the better show was NWA's pay-per-view tonight. Hard Times. Oh, when NWA comes to town and puts on a pay-per-view on a Friday, Royal Rumble weekend, and ends up being the talk of the town. Because it's already happened. It's a guaranteed fact. I checked it right before we hit the record button. It was still the number one trend, at least in my feed, worldwide. So congratulations to the NWA for a hell of a night. Big things to come from them in the future. A lot of championship changes on that show. I'm going to have to check that show out at my earliest convenience. Don't forget to be here for the When Worlds Collide review tomorrow night. The Royal Rumble review will be up Sunday night, and then we continue business as usual with the hammering of Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays on a regular basis. And I can't thank you guys enough for being a part of this family that continues to grow. We are in the middle of year 4. We are marching on to WrestleMania season for the 4th time on this channel. Let's get this channel over 3,000 subscribers as soon as we possibly can. And in order to do that, if you enjoyed today's show, if I made you laugh, if I made you cry, if I made you understand why this go-home show makes you want the WWE to go home altogether and not even put on the Royal Rumble this Sunday, all you have to do is hit that subscribe button right now. Become one of the over 2,000 plus that know when you want your wrestling news and reviews full of fun and entertainment and bullshit free. Sledgehammer TV is the place to be. Check out everything else on the channel, and don't forget to leave a like on this video if you had a great time here with us today, as we always do here. My Sledgeheads have a fantastic time. You want to be one of them? It's very easy. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification button so that you don't miss anything on this channel coming up during the Royal Rumble season into WrestleMania. And most importantly, share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world so that we can continue to grow this family full of quality wrestling fans that don't want to have their intelligence insulted and that like to have a good time when talking with their buddies about wrestling. Because that's what we're doing. We're not sitting here complaining. I'm talking to my friends about my concerns with pro wrestling. And I want you guys to talk with me about your concerns by leaving me a comment down in the comments section as well. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue the Snowball, the most important member of the team as always. You know who it is. Each and every one of you guys. That, my friends, is going to do it, and we are out of here. And we will see you all weekend long because the wrestling never stops. Right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom.